Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Hey guys, welcome back to today's episode. Well, welcome back for another episode. Last episode I was working on the wiring harness, getting all the extensions done to the connectors and sensors, and right now I have everything thrown inside the engine bay right below the camera. I'm going to show you guys that in a second. It's been a lot of time, I know, away from the episodes again, but it's okay. Like, I'm back for another one here, and we're going to be going over trying to get this thing started today. The idea right now that I have is I have all the connections inside connected to the sensors where they need to go. All the wires are loose, so they're not in their own loom or anything like that. So if I do have an issue, I can take things apart and readjust those wires and resolder anything that needs to be resoldered. But we're gonna just try and get this thing fired up. And here's what I mean, like all the wires you can still see are just all visible and easy accessible. They're all tucked away so they don't interfere with the exhaust here or below. They're not interfering with the axles. Everything is basically safe enough that I can go ahead and just turn it over and see if I'm throwing a code, and even I can go ahead and turn it on if everything's going. I've added in brand new heater hoses all the way. Everything's connected, made sure everything is tight. Everything was torqued down properly that I can go ahead and just be in a safe mode where I can go ahead and turn on the car. Connectors, I think I have everything done. I got the battery right there. Actually, it's too big to fit inside the engine bay here. Often it gets relocated below here on the passenger side against the frame. I'm gonna actually relocate it here on the driver's side. I'll do that in a later episode, but for now I'm just gonna throw it in right here, get it connected, and just have it seated here. It shouldn't interfere in anything, so put it together, turn the keys in, put them in, and then just kind of throw it in accessory mode and see if I'm throwing any codes. I got the heater on, so if there is some background noise, I apologize. But yeah, I went over all the grounds, making sure they're all as well connected properly in some nice clean metal. Whatever needed to be ground is grounded, and just so I don't just destroy anything, right? So make sure those are all connected. And as well, inside here I have my ECU, I got my harness, I have my harness adapter as well to accommodate the P5M JDM ECU that I have. And I'm going to clean this all up properly later on, but for today's purpose, it'll do. Oh, so comfortable. All right, let's check this out. So I am throwing a code. All right, I guess I'll just take a review and see what's going on. I just double check all the connectors. Luckily I labeled all my connectors, so I should hopefully be able to just quickly diagnose this. And hopefully I don't have anything worse than that. Let's take a look. Once again, I went over all the connectors, unplugged them, reconnected them. Just gonna try it again, see if I'm running into that same issue. Gone over all of the connectors. I think right now I'm going to go ahead and take basically a paper clip and then just run a kind of a trick that'll allow me to be able to see the blinking code that I'm throwing. So down here in the passenger side, there is a service connector often located right where the ECU is. And you'll want to take this one off. It's a 2-pin connector. You want to get yourself a paper clip, jam it in there, so we basically loop the connection. What that should actually do for us is show us our blinking code that we're throwing on the cluster, and we'll be able to figure out what's going on. So I have it connected. I'll read it over for you guys so you can see it. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that tells me that there's only one code, because if there was multiple codes, it would keep on running through all the codes, and then it would loop back to the very first one. So it's good that we only have one code. Quickly gonna check out what the 6 flashing is, and then yeah, we'll go there and take a look at it. After just going on one of the tech forums, I figured out that it could be, and probably is, the water temperature sensor. Quick and stupid mistake on my part. I have a ECT sensor which shouldn't be located here. I should have it connected over here below the distributor. I'm just gonna unplug this, switch it over, and see if that fixes the code. Right now I'm below the driver's side, and right there you can see that gray connector right here. This is your diagnostic connector where you can actually hook up a scanner if you did want to figure out your code, if you do have one. If you don't, you can run that pin trick that I just showed you, and you can basically figure out the code as well. This is the one that I actually picked up. It's the blue driver, and I hear a lot of good things about this you know, diagnostic tool, that this allows you to even get live data, so we can figure out, you know, fuel trim and a lot more other things that can be very important when we do get this car turned on. These things right now, I think they're like $100 Canadian, maybe cheaper in the States, I'm not sure, but it is a nice tool to have. You can buy a lot of these different ones for like 20 bucks, but I hear a lot of good things with this one. So, yeah, I'm just gonna swap in these connectors. All right, we're back inside the car, readjusted those connectors. Check this out. Ah, nice. So that is perfect. Awesome. Great feeling to know that everything is ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead, add transmission fluid, oil. I'll probably have my brother come over and help me out, just because it'll be better to have two people just to kind of observe things, one inside the cabin, one inside here looking at the engine bay if we have any leaks or anything like that. But exciting news, and I'm very happy. We're gonna get this thing fired up. I know we will. So with transmission fluid, I got the manual transmission fluid for Honda and Acura vehicles. Kind of jerry-rigged this thing up here because it's kind of a hard thing to kind of get the a funnel in there, so make do with what you can. Coolant is in. I filled it up with Royal Purple. I might change the oil out probably if I do get the car started and running. You know, after if I do run it for a while and drive it, probably within like a few 100 kilometers, I'll change it out. I might change to AMSOIL. I'm not sure the oil that I'm gonna like the most, but Royal Purple, I hear some fairly good things with it, so we'll see how that goes. So I just called my brother. He'll be coming down this evening. We're gonna get this thing fired up, hopefully, so fingers crossed that this thing works. Oh. Hopefully not gonna overflow. Shit. Just a little clip, just enough. Any leak underneath? Looking good?
So we're doing this with the door, garage door. It's fine.
It's
It'll
it might smoke if it does, and I'll just open it.
and then we'll open it. Okay. Is your camera on?
Yeah. Hi YouTube.
So you trying to prime it or trying to turn it on?
Just pumping fuel into the line. I don't have a fuel gauge there to measure pressure, which is one thing I would have liked. That's a leak.
What?
That's a leak.
Is it? Looks like it's that right there.
Yeah.
Looks wet.
It's that right there. So we just went over the fuel line. Everything is good up to this point right here on the banjo. So I just tightened it down like another half rotation. It was a little loose, so we'll see if that solves this issue.
Oh yeah, big time. Big time.
From that spot.
Oh yeah, big time. Like it's like not even there.
And it almost looks like the bottom of the manifold piece right here, this basically this aluminum piece, is catching on the AN fitting, and I believe it almost is not sitting flat and kind of on an angle, which is causing us a leak, and it kind of just confirmed that. So we're going to take this off, back it off, and grind this down with a file to see if this can actually sit lower, allowing our crush washer to be more flat against the aluminum surface. That channel on the aluminum too, causing the problem.
It's just not,
oh, there it is. That's a good spot right there.
Seated properly.
You can see that it's not seated nicely. It's almost like digging into the material there. And that could be confirmed because of the angle that banjo is sitting on, and as we're tightening it, we're just tightening it on one spot instead of evenly across the top. So I taped it around so when I go ahead and file, I don't get any material going inside into the manifold. But I'm just going to take this back end off and we'll try it again. So there you can kind of see the closest one to the camera is the one I've started to file out, and I think that might be enough that I'm just going to do the same on the other side. We'll put it back on and run another test. Right after I do this, there's a little bit of the aluminum shavings in there. I'm going to get a Q-tip in there, clean this all out nicely so I don't get any contaminants inside.
Karate.
Yeah, that looks better. Oh yeah, that has that movement that I don't think I could get before.
Yeah.
Ready? No leak.
No leak.
Rags are all out of the way.
Yep.
Ready?
Yep.
Oh. Holy fuck. Okay. Alright.
It turned on though.
Holy shit, first crank.
It turned on.
Whoa. Heart's racing.
It does seem like your throttle cable's too tight.
Does it?
Yeah, because you see how it's open? Try it again. I'll close the throttle a bit.
Alright, try it. We can loosen up the... Because that one is from the Civic, right? It's not from the Lude. Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. So that's probably it.
Yeah. It's the throttle body's open.
Alright, let's open the garage door.
Smells nice. Smells like success.
There is a... It starts. The throttle cable is a little too tight, so we're just gonna readjust that and see if I can get it to a proper idle. Because that one's from the Civic, and we're just probably working with different lengths here. No leak anymore. We're idling around 1,000. I do have a exhaust leak. It is dripping back there. I do need to replace the gasket on there. Yeah, you can see it kind of just... Yeah, there's a leak right there on that, so I need to fix that. So my brother and I, we had some issues with idling. It was kind of surging, so we kind of looked over all our vacuums. I actually did have one of the vacuum lines split, and I did have another one that wasn't capped off. Closed those up and connected them properly. I will have to replace the one line that is cracked, but it still sounds like it's idling high, so I am gonna take off the fast idle, give it a clean, because it's sometimes an issue with older Hondas that it kind of gets clogged up in there, so I'll disassemble it, but at the same time I'm going to clean up the throttle body entirely because it was sticking a little bit and is a little dirty. So I picked myself up a AEM cold air intake. It just came in, oil all my fittings, hoses, my tube, and the filter down there. So that'll be another video as well. I'll have to drill out like a 3.5 inch hole right in this area, I believe, right here. I'll drill that out and then I'll route it in there beautifully, get it all connected and get everything else fixed. So I'm sure a lot of you are pretty excited to see that this car started. For myself, I am so happy, and I want to thank my brother for helping me out today. On to the next project, which is going to be that battery relocation, installing that cold air intake, taking apart probably the wiring harness, I know, but I want to get it all protected in its own personal loom, and then I want to route things back in here, check over all the vacuum lines, making sure that they're good, clean, holding pressure properly, not teared, and if they are teared, replacing them. But it's looking good, I'm feeling good about it, and I can't wait for the next thing I gotta do. So thanks again, guys, for watching today's episode. I hope to see you in the next one of Garage SpeCivic.